dear friends, before we move on to what is chemical reaction or what is a chemical equation, we first have to understand why do we need to study a chemical reaction. We take a couple of analogies or take a couple of examples where we find different chemical reactions in our day-to-day basis. Take an example that we have food in our home and we keep it as it is for a month long or probably for a few months long. After a few months, we find there is a rotten smell coming. The food starts rotting, right? Now, take another example. We have headaches frequently, probably not too frequently, at least once in a month. What do? We take necessary medications. Medications make us feel better. Take another analogy. Since our lower classes, we have been studying that plants can make their own food. How? They can take carbon dioxide from the air, they can take water from the soil, and in the presence of light and in the leaves, they can undergo a process of photosynthesis to make their own food. Right? Now, take an example from our daily life. We eat food. Our food gets digested, and after some time it gets excreted and we again feel hungry. Now when the food is present in our digestive system, the oxygen that we have breathed in, it is used for a process called respiration, where the complex food molecules are oxidized and broken down into smaller molecules. Again an example of a chemical reaction. We use remote, we use our batteries in our mobile. Now what happens in a battery? How does it work? In all these batteries, we have chemicals filled in. These chemicals react with each other, which helps in generation of electricity. Now this electricity is used in the normal functioning of our electronic equipments. Now this is again an example of chemical reaction. We go to our school using school bus, or if not, we use some sort of private or public transport, right? Now in all these automobiles, including buses or rickshaws or the trains we travel in, we have burning of fuel taking place, which enable them to work. Now another example, most of us have cycles at our place, at our residences. We ride them for fun, and sometimes, especially in a monsoon season, we don't ride them. Our parents don't allow it to do. Now, in such cases, if you see the condition of your cycle before the monsoon season and after the monsoon season, you will find that our cycle rusts after the monsoon season. Now, this rusting of iron is again an example of the chemical reactions. Now all these changes happen because of the chemical changes happening due to chemical reactions. To understand these underlying concepts and principles, we need to study chemical reaction. Now take an activity, the first activity. Now this activity, you need a magnesium strip in your school laboratory. Remember, there is, as a precautionary method, you have to do this reaction in the presence of your school teacher, and you need to take proper precautions for your eyes and for your hands. Now take a strip of a magnesium ribbon of approximately 2 cm long. Now rub this magnesium ribbon using a sandpaper. Rubbing it with a sandpaper will cause dust or any other impurities to dust down. Okay. Now hold this magnesium ribbon using a pair of tongs. Now burn it using a spirit lamp or a burner and collect the ash so formed in the watch glass. Now when the magnesium burns, you have to keep it away from your eyes, because when the magnesium ribbon burns, the gas that is formed or the vapors that is formed might affect your eyes. Now what do we observe when a magnesium ribbon burns? Now when magnesium ribbon burns, it burns with a dazzling white flame and changes into a white powder. Now this white powder which is obtained is magnesium oxide. It is formed due to a reaction between magnesium and oxygen present in air. This reaction is represented in this form. Magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide, right? So now if we write it in a chemical form, it is, or in a symbolic form, it is represented as 2Mg plus O2 gives 2MgO, right? So this was one of our first activity. Now take another activity where we have lead nitrate solution in a test tube. Now we are adding lead iodide solution to this. In this second activity, we are taking lead nitrate solution in a test tube. Now we are adding potassium iodide solution to this. So what do we observe here? The compounds will mix and react with each other. This reaction will give rise to a yellow precipitate which is known as lead iodide. Now this potassium nitrate there will also be a formation of potassium nitrate, but which will be white and will be hidden by the yellow lead iodide. So if I write in a reaction form, as a word equation form, we will have lead nitrate plus potassium iodide giving lead iodide plus potassium nitrate, right? Now if I write it in a symbolic form, it will be PbNO3 twice plus 2Ki, it gives PbI2 plus 2KNO3. So this is your symbolic equation which also describes the word pattern. Okay. Now in another reaction, take another example. We are taking zinc granules in a conical flask or a test tube. We are adding dilute hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid to this. Now there is an additional caution to be observed here, that you should be very careful while handling acids because they can burn your body, right? So we will move on to the third activity now. Take few zinc granules in a conical flask or in a test tube. Now add dilute hydrochloric acid or sulfuric acid to this. A token of caution here is you have to handle the acid with care. Now what happens when we add dilute hydrochloric acid to zinc granules? Zinc spontaneously reacts with both hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid to give zinc chloride and zinc sulfate respectively. In both these cases, hydrogen gas is evolved with formation of some amount of heat. So the reaction goes in this way. First is for zinc, when zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid. Zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives zinc chloride ZnCl2 plus hydrogen gas plus the heat. Now when zinc reacts with sulfuric acid, it forms zinc plus H2SO4 or sulfuric acid. It gives zinc sulfate plus hydrogen plus some amount of heat is generated, right? So now my dear friends, we have been talking for quite a while about a chemical reaction. That this forms this, something reacts with each other to form a new product. So the real question here to understand is, what is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is a change of a substance into a new one that has a different chemical identity. Now the next question which comes to our mind is, how can I tell if a chemical reaction is occurring? A chemical reaction is usually accompanied by easily observed physical effects such as the emission of heat and light, the formation of a precipitate, the evolution of gas, and the change of state and change of temperature, or even in a change in color. Now, absolute confirmation of a chemical change can only be validated by appropriate chemical analysis of the products. Okay, I hope we have understood what do we understand by a chemical reaction. Now, the next trick for us to understand is, how do we write a chemical reaction? Now, remember as a basic law, always in a chemical reaction, elements or compounds react with each other to give new products. Take this representation. Reactants give in products, right? Now always we write elements or compounds that participate in a reaction are termed as reactants, which are always written on the left hand side in a chemical reaction, that is in the left hand side of the arrow. Now we have an arrow which is pointing right. Now here the right pointed arrow indicates that some from the reactants there is something new forming. Now when these reactants react, the new products, new things that are formed are termed as products, which are always represented on the right hand side of the reaction. Okay, now whatever reactions we have seen here, they all say for example this reaction, zinc plus hydrochloric acid gives zinc chloride plus hydrogen. So in this example we have zinc and hydrochloric acid as reactants, and we have zinc chloride and hydrogen as products, right? Now in a chemical reaction, we many a times can have two or more elements or compounds as a reactants, or two or more compounds being formed. So we represent them with a plus sign in middle, like here zinc plus 2HCl gives zinc chloride plus hydrogen. So here the plus sign represents that there are two reactants, zinc and hydrochloric acid. And we also stated a plus sign on the product side. It means that the products formed are zinc chloride, hydrogen plus some amount of heat is liberated. Now always whenever we are writing a chemical reaction, we have to write all the elements and compounds in their molecular form. Like we always have to represent any element or compound taking part in a chemical reaction in their molecular formula always. There will be some compounds or some elements which exist in a monoatomic, diatomic, or even more than that, multi-atomic forms. Now, so for in all these cases we have to represent it in a molecular form. Now take an example here, the formation of water. We have hydrogen H2, because hydrogen, one single hydrogen molecule always has two hydrogen atoms, and it also exists in gaseous state. So what we have written here is H2, that is one molecule of hydrogen, plus we have also mentioned the state of that element, right? That is another important criteria for writing a chemical reaction. You always have to mention elements or compounds participating or new products formed in, and you have to mention their physical state. Plus oxygen, O2. Similar to hydrogen, oxygen also exists in a diatomic form. That is, one molecule of oxygen has two atoms in it. It also exists in gaseous form in nature. Now, when both of them react together, they give H2O. That is in the liquid state, right? So if I write what each of these symbols represent, we write a hydrogen below H2, oxygen below O2, and water below H2O. This is another important rule that you have to remember. So in this reaction we learned that we have to write a chemical reaction in a molecular form like this. We have to represent the physical state, like in a gas we have mentioned, and also we have to write what element is it, oxygen. Alright, now before we start analyzing or start trying to understand different chemical reactions, we also have to know that we have to balance the chemical reactions. What do I mean, or what do we understand by balancing a reaction? Balancing a chemical reaction means the number of a particular element in the reactant should be equal to the number of the same element, or number of atoms in the same element should be equal. Now take an example. We have iron. Iron is, the symbol for iron is Fe, and it exists in nature as Fe. It's a monoatomic molecule. When it reacts with a single molecule of water, it gives Fe3O4, that is iron oxide, plus it gives hydrogen gas, right? So now when we see here, this reaction is not balanced. How? Let me explain you. Write the number of elements which is present on the reactant side. So on the LHS, so we will first make two columns, LHS and RHS. We can also name it as LHS as reactants and RHS as products, right? So here Fe, number of Fe atoms is 1. Only one. On the entire reactant side, only one atom of iron is present. But whereas on the product side, number of iron atoms is 3, which is represented by this small number. Okay. Now we will understand why the 3 is written below slightly as we move on for the discussion. Now here hydrogen is, there are 2 atoms of hydrogen, so we write 2 here, and here also number of hydrogen atoms is only 2. So there is no issue on hydrogen, because on both these sides number of hydrogen atoms are the same, but we have found different numbers of iron atoms. Now let's see about oxygen, what oxygen has to say. Here number of oxygen atoms is only 1, so we write 1, and here the number of oxygen atoms is 4, so we write O equal to 4, right? Now we see that there is a big mismatch in numbers of iron and oxygen. So how do we balance it? Okay, see, here Fe is 1, here Fe is 3, right? So we can write 3 in the front of Fe. Remember students, writing a number in front of an element means there are 3 such molecules existing. Okay, so if I write 3 below, as in this case it means that in one molecule of Fe3O4 there is 3 atoms of iron. Here the 3 means there are 3 atoms present in one molecule, and in this case here 3 means there are 3 such molecules existing. Because Fe exists in a monoatomic state, that is a single molecule has only one iron atom, so we write 3 in the front. So writing 3 in the front is same as writing 3 in the below here. So the number of atoms on the right hand side and on the left hand side in case of the iron molecule is the same. So now we have achieved a balance in the number of atoms for Fe. So here on the LHS I will write 1 into 3, which gives 3, right? Now oxygen, here is there are 4 atoms, but here on the left hand side we have only one oxygen atom. So how do we balance it? By simply writing 4 in front of H2O. So here 4H2O means there are 4 molecules of H2O, 4 water molecules. So because each water molecule has only one oxygen atom, so 4 water molecules will have 4 oxygen atoms, right? From here the 4 oxygen atoms gets shifted to iron, so we have 4 over here. Okay, so now we have balanced our number of oxygen. So here on the table we will write 1 into 4 is equal to 4, right? So both iron and oxygen are now balanced, right? But on the left hand side, if by writing 4 in front of H2 or 4 in front of water molecule, we have got 8 atoms of hydrogen. Okay, because here in water there are 2 hydrogen atoms present. So in case of 4 water molecules there will be 8 hydrogen atoms. So we will write here as 2 into 4 is equal to 8. Okay, now on the left hand side or on the reactant side we have 8 hydrogen atoms. Now but on the product side we have only 2. So we need 4 more hydrogen atoms, right? So what I will do is I will multiply by hydrogen with 4 on the product side to get 8. Okay, so the same multiplication of 4 to the hydrogen molecule I will do on the product side. So I will write 4 here. Now even if you multiply here, 4 2s are 8, so we have got 8 atoms of hydrogen. Okay, so now if you see the chart, all the atoms are on the both sides are now balanced. Now this is how you have to balance a given chemical reaction.
Lot of students waste their precious time watching cartoons, movies, reality shows on TV. Then they waste their time on social networking sites. When the students sit to study, they are unable to concentrate to get your studies finished, and they get low marks in exams. Parents shell out tons of money from their pockets for coaching classes. But who knows what is taught in these classes? Teachers at times get bugged up when you ask them questions. YouTube has a lot of information but little of use. This is where Study Spectrum TV channel comes in picture. Every chapter explained by different teachers with different examples and repeat telecasts. We remember 20% of the audio ads we hear, 30% of the printed items we see. But we remember 70% of the audio visuals. That is why video teaching is a powerful medium to learn. After watching Study Spectrum TV channel, you get a peaceful sleep with no tensions and no worries. You devote less time towards your studies and you get better marks in your exams. Visit us on www.studyspectrum.com. Follow us on Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe for Study Spectrum TV channel and keep edifying.
So now we will study a few more rules that we are left with. See, first important rule, as I might have already mentioned, we have to write the states of matter, whether it is solid, liquid, gaseous state, in which they are participating in a reaction, or they are formed, or they are dissolved in somewhere in a solution, like in an aqueous state. Everything we have to mention, including the what conditions, under what conditions does the reaction taking place. We will see few examples. The first example here is uh, iron. It reacts with water and gives Fe3O4, ferrous oxides, plus it gives hydrogen gas. Now this is typically a balanced reaction which I have already balanced for you. But if you see here, it has a solid. I have written S in the brackets. It means for iron here is in a solid state. Okay. Now if you see 4H2O, it is a gaseous state. That means we are using steam over here. We are not using the liquid, water in liquid or solid state. Okay. Now if water is in a gaseous state, then either steam or in the form of moisture, it will form Fe3O4, iron oxide. This is one of the components which we find in rust. Plus this is again in a solid state. And one more product is formed, that is hydrogen, which is released in the atmosphere in the form of gas, right? So now, talking of what conditions do we need for a reaction to occur, it is explained in the next two reactions. First, carbon CO. CO stands for carbon monoxide. It is in a gaseous form. Now when we have it comes in contact with 2H2, that is 2 molecules of hydrogen gas. That's why we have written G in the bracket. Both of them, when they are subjected to the 340 atmospheres, it gives CH3OH, that is methanol in a liquid form. Methanol is also called as methyl alcohol, right? For this reaction to happen, you have to take both these gases together in a cylinder, subject their mixture to a 340 atmospheric pressure, and the resultant what you will get is methanol in the liquid state, right? Now there is one more example we will see, which is quite common in plants, or which we should learn or we are supposed to know. First is that is the photosynthesis reaction. Now plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and when it is absorbed from the atmosphere, it gets dissolved in the tissue fluids. So the CO2 which is available for the plants to use is in the aqueous state, right? So we have written CO2, 6 CO2 rather, in brackets we have written AQ. It means in the aqueous state. That means CO2 is dissolved in something, plus 12 H2O in the liquid. This H2O means water is absorbed from the roots, which is in itself is available to plants in the liquid form. Okay. Now when both of them come together in chlorophyll, which is present in the leaves of the plants, and it is this chlorophyll which gives leaves green color, and during the presence of sunlight, then this both carbon dioxide and water reacts together to give glucose. This C6H12O6 is termed as glucose. Okay. Now glucose which is formed in the plants is always in the aqueous state. So again we have AQ written. There not only just glucose formed, there are two other products formed, that is oxygen, 6 oxygen again in the aqueous state, and 6 H2O in the aqueous state. Okay. So remember, when if you are unable to complete the full reaction in one single line, always write in an appropriate column. I cannot write 6O2 and take 6O2 and start writing from my LHS. If I do so, the 6O2 will be considered to be a part of the reactants, which is wrong in the reaction. Always I have to write product on the product side reactants on the reactant sides if I cannot fit the entire reaction in one single line, as I have done here, right? So this is some of the basic rules that you all should remember while writing a chemical reaction. Now we will study different types of chemical reactions that exist. Okay, so my dear friends, moving ahead with the types of reactions. First type of reaction is the combination reaction. In this type of reaction, two or more elements or compounds, they come together to form one single product, right? So take an example, or take a reaction as an example. We have calcium oxide, CaO, in solid state. Calcium oxide is also called as quicklime. When it reacts with water, which is in liquid state, it gives slag line, that is calcium hydroxide in the aqueous state. Aqueous state means the slag line or CaOH twice is dissolved in water, right? So now you have to understand there are certain chemical reactions where there is heat produced or there is some amount of energy released from the reaction. Now such type of reactions are termed as exothermic reaction. While on the other hand, there will be some other reactions which take energy from the environment or they take up heat. Such kind of reaction is termed as endothermic reaction. So first we will start with an exothermic reaction. Let's see how exothermic reaction looks like. Now we will be studying about burning of coal. First we have coal. Coal is nothing but a form of carbon. So we have written carbon here, which is in a solid state. Now when carbon reacts with atmospheric oxygen, O2, that is oxygen from the air, which is in a gaseous state. Now this oxygen reacts and this oxygen, or I mean to say, when coal is burnt in air, it forms carbon dioxide, which is again a gaseous one. Now this reaction is nothing but the burning of coal. Alright, now take another example, which is the respiration. I hope I have mentioned this in the beginning of our chapter, that in our body we have respiration, a kind of chemical reaction. So what is this chemical reaction? Now in a chemical reaction, the glucose which our body digests, it reacts with oxygen which we have taken from our breathing system, right, through lungs. This oxygen oxidizes glucose to form carbon dioxide and some amount of water, and also some amount of energy is released. This entire reaction is termed as the process of respiration. And this is how the exothermic reaction works out. Now my friends, we have seen an exothermic reaction in which some amount of heat or energy is produced. Now we will see an endothermic reaction. An endothermic reaction is a reaction which takes place by absorption of some form of energy, right? So here let's see an example. We have nitrogen, N2 in gaseous form, nitrogen gas, we have oxygen gas. Now when both of them are present together and they are heated, we get nitric oxide. So what we have written on the arrow is heat, and within the brackets and there is a triangular sign. This triangular sign is called as delta and is a symbol with which heat is represented. If you write both heat or delta, both of them are correct. But for your understanding or for your convenience, it is preferred that you write both heat within brackets delta. Okay, so this is how a exothermic and endothermic reaction happens.